gripping story. It is now turning out that the killers of Mary Wambui may have hired another motorist to ferry her body from Four-Way Junction Estate along Wambui Road, where the incident is said to have happened, to Juja, where Wambui's body was found a day later. A Wambui court has granted investigators 7 days to detain Michael Githai in order to complete investigations into the murder. And now let's talk to our reporter and KTN's news, crime and investigations reporter, Brian Obuya, just to tell us more. Obuya, good morning. And is the family of Mary Wambui really close to getting justice? Obuya, if you can hear me, and reporter, crimes and investigative reporter Brian Obuya is joining us from the city center live. And Obuya, if you can hear me, is the family of Mary Wambui closer to getting justice?
Well, Brenda, that is something that the court will actually decide, given what the investigators are going to probably table before court, because a lot has been happening around this particular killing, given that there are already 2 suspects in police custody. We've had all these intriguing instances surrounding that particular killing. We had police recover the vehicle that drove Judy Wangoi and Mary Wambui to the Four-Ways estate, but they said preliminarily it was clear that that was not the vehicle that was used to ferry her body. And we saw yesterday police arrest a taxi driver, whom it's now police are telling the country that that is the man. That is the Michael Githai Madhenge is the man who was hired to ferry Mary Wambui's body from a dam along Thika Road to where from the Four-Ways estate to the dam around along Thika Road. So that particular incident is part of the many intrigues surrounding this particular killing of Mary Wambui. We saw a lot of other things coming into play, a number of more women coming out claiming Joseph Corey to having been their husband. But a lot more is going to be seen, given what prosecutors are now tasked at finding out, because in as much as the media has really reported about the post-mortem claiming that there was some hitting, the reports coming out that Mary Wambui could have been hit by the butt of a pistol on her head. At least for us here at KTN News, we've not been able to independently get that information from police, if or not Joseph Corey actually was a licensed gun holder, or if he actually had a gun on that particular instant. We've not been able to get that particular information. And sections of the media have also reported that Joseph Corey might not actually have been at the scene where the murder, or rather the killing, took place. So again, that is another intrigue that has just lately come into play, claiming that Joseph Corey might not have been at the scene, yet from the onset it was said that when Judy Wangoi and Mary Wambui drove to the Four-Ways estate, they actually found Joseph Corey in the house whereby this particular one actually, where this particular murder actually took place. So it will be interesting to see how police merge all these details together, telling the country if or not Joseph Corey Karue was a licensed gun holder. We also had those details about how exactly Joseph Karue Corey and Judy Wangoi were making a living, and Mary Wambui. It appeared to the country as if this was a millionaires team. It was a millionaires team. So how exactly Joseph Corey again went into all this wealth is also something else that the prosecution, or the investigators, will or are expected to tell the country where Joseph Corey, Judy Wangoi, Mary Wambui got their wealth. And we understand, we have gotten sources that they are still working on that, because in a previous investigation we had done, it wasn't clear as yet if a company owned by some woman in Nakuru is the same one that is also owned by the woman and Joseph Corey, and it won a 15 million tender with the government parastatal. We were the other director, that is Florence Wambui, was not ready to actually commit that indeed that was the co-director of this particular company that won that tender before Joseph Kori opened up a business for the wife somewhere in Kahawa West. So all these are intrigues coming into play, whether or not Joseph Kori actually was a licensed gun holder, whether he was at the scene, who exactly took the body to where it was found. We have also gotten reports that Mary Wambui and Judy Wangoi drove into the Fourways apartment from the CCTV footage at about 6:24 p.m. We understand to this end that police are giving those reports that there was another taxi driver who was called to dump the body, but the taxi driver declined that offer, and that is the man they're actually hunting for. So whether or not this was a case of manslaughter or it was murder is what the court is set to decide, and that is where, whether the family will get justice or not, that is where the line actually lies. Brenda. I'm
about to ask you, Brian Obuya, so where do you draw the line when it comes to separating this case from manslaughter?
Brenda, I believe you are asking whether or how police or detectives or the court is going to decide whether this was actually murder or manslaughter. This is where it comes in. You understand that according to the elements of murder, the components of murder, defining it as the unlawful killing of a human being by another human being with malice aforethought, or other statutes call it with premeditation. So that is where the detectives or the prosecution, if they want to hinge this, because we already know they are filing up, they are compiling, or rather they are set to present before court a case of murder, first-degree murder. So we are going to see a lot happening in the days to come on how police are going to make sure that they seal that indeed a killing happened at the Fourways apartment or wherever it did take place. The weapon that actually took place, or rather was used in that particular killing, we've not heard about it. We do not know whether there was intention to actually kill Mary Wambui. And again, we do not know whether there was a premeditation. How long was this one actually thought about? Because according to the components, the elements of murder, the statute that actually holds a murder charge, first-degree murder, there must be some sort of premeditation, that there was intention to kill and someone actually thought about it. And this premeditation does not happen during the act that causes harm, or the causation act, the causation. So it does not happen during if two people are fighting and one of them dies. Premeditation does not happen during the fighting. It has to happen before the fighting. So if at all there was any provocation between the parties involved, detectives will actually be tasked to establish that there was an earlier thinking, an earlier thought, an earlier intention. A plot was hatched before actually Mary Wambui was killed. But if it actually happened in the spur of the moment, the provocation actually happened at the spur of the moment, then that could as well be ruled out by the court as having been manslaughter, given the type of injuries that were inflicted. How did the person die? Was this actually an intention? Did the person causing the harm know that by doing ABCD, by hitting this person this way, is going to cause their death? That is where exactly detectives and, in general, the prosecution will have to prove to court, despite having proven all the elements of a first-degree murder. The premeditation, the intention, the malice aforethought is going to separate this from being manslaughter. But again, what happens later on will also mean a lot of things, given that there were, again, intentions to conceal the body. That, again, they might use it as a very important aspect of having to prove this actually as a case of murder that was well plotted and executed.
All right.
Brenda.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian Obuya, for that detailed report. Developing story right there. And the investigative and crimes reporter, Brian Obuya, is keeping a keen eye on that story. Now, allow me to take a first short commercial break here on KTN News Center. But when we come